Hello!
Hi, welcome back to day 6 of Advent of Code 2020 with Dad and Kids. Coding. I always forget the coding part, but that's what we're here for. So today is a customs declaration form that we have to fill out, and there's a form that gets handed out to everybody on the plane, and it has 26 yes or no questions. And what you need to do is identify the questions for which anyone in your group answers yes. Since your group is just you, this doesn't take long. However, other people have more problems. So they want to know, so there's various people. So this would be a group with 3 people in it, and they all answered A, B, C, but they also answered X, Y, and Z. So there are 6 questions to which anyone answered yes, A, B, C, X, Y, and Z. Okay, so we'll grab the sample run here, and we will go over and work on the code. So I already uploaded the data for day 6 to make it go faster for us. So let's go and look at the tests.
Yes, if you don't know how to import data, then you might have issues.
Yes, you might go back to one of our previous episodes.
Yeah.
So this is going to be test day 06A, and we're going to say self assert that, and I'm going to do it the same way as I did yesterday. So I'm going to use AOC day 06A with, and then I'm going to provide the input, and the input looks like this we just saw, and I'm going to assert that that equals 6, I think. No, all of these have right. And then, so after we've done this for each group, we're supposed to add up the total number. So the correct answer for this one is 11. Okay, so that this equals 11. And then we'll also do self-assert. AOC day 06A with self data for day 6. And that, again, we don't know what it's going to be, so we'll assume that we'll say that it's equals to nil. And then that'll fill in time. Okay, so there's our first test. And of course it's going to fail when we run it because we don't have a day 06. So let's create this, and we'll put it in Advent of Code 2020. So again, because this method is in the package already, we don't have to go and make it so. So let's. So what we need to have at the end of all this is a count. So let's set count, which is initially going to be 0, and typo there. And we're also going to have a current group answers. And this I'm going to set initially to an empty set. Okay, so let's just save that, which is going to define these temporary variables. Okay, so now what we want to do is we want to loop through the string. So the string lines, and we want to loop through all of these. And I was going to, this code is very similar to it's going to be very similar to day 4, so we could go back and grab that, but I'm not going to at this point. And let's, when we're done, we're going to return the count. Okay, so let's see. So Okay, so we have a line, and the line is going to include, it could be a blank line, or it could have something else in it. So if it's empty, so line is empty. Actually, there's a method if empty, if not empty, so let's use that. So if it's empty, and if it's not empty, we'll do something different. Okay, so if it's empty, then it means that we've come to the end of one of the records. So we've come to, for example, here, the end of one of the groups. So we've seen AB and AC, and now we're at a blank line. So the current group answers should have the number of questions that were answered. So I'm going to say count is going to be equal to count plus current group answers size. And what else we're going to want to do here? We also are going to want to reset this. So we'll set, we'll just copy this code. So we'll add the current size of it, and we'll set it back to an empty set. If it's not empty, then we have we want to go through all the characters in here and add them all to the set. So otherwise, we'll go through the line do, and what we have here is a character. So we'll take that character and we'll add it to the set. So current group answers, add C. Okay. I think that might be it. We'll see. Okay, so C. Oh, I didn't mean C. I meant char. Okay, save that. Okay, let's proceed. And we got 10 instead of 11. Well, if you watched us doing group day 4, you may remember that we forgot the last case. So let's restart and step into this. Because if the last line is, so as this one does, it ends in something without an empty line after it. And so we're not counting the group answers in that last input. So let's just do that. So we'll just say count is count plus current group answer size. Okay, and now let's proceed. And it worked, but this one says that the correct answer is 6590. So let's grab that and paste it in there. And let's just verify that worked. Yes, it does. So now let's go back over here and try that answer here and submit. Yes, we got the right answer. So we're 1 gold star closer. Okay, let's see what part 2 is. Okay, part 2. As you finish the last group, you notice that you misread one word in the instructions. Of course you did. You need to identify the questions to which anyone answers yes. You need to identify the questions to which everyone answers yes. Okay, so in this case, this one is going to have all 3 of these. This one is going to have none, because one answered A, one answered B, one answered C. This one would be A, and this one would be A, and this one would be B. So the answer for this one would be, as it says, 3 plus 1 plus 1 plus 1 is 6. Okay, so that's very close to what we did, except that so let's go to the advent of code. day 6. And the problem is this part. So instead of just adding the character, we want to add it if it's tricky because we want to know if anybody else has answered this, and if so, so there are a few different ways to do this. One of these is something called a bag. So let's just go over to the playground for a moment and look at a bag. Okay, so let's see, B is a bag new. Okay, now if we say B add doesn't matter, let's make it A, B add B, and B add A. Now bags are kind of like sets, except that we remember how many values there are. So let's just do this, and let's see what B is now. B. So it's a bag with 3 items, and 2 of them are A's and 1 of them is a B, as we can see. So we added A twice, and we added B once. So a bag is like a set, except it keeps track of a count. So let's see what B size is. B size is 3. That's not what I wanted. How about B keys? So this should be, so B keys is all of the keys in the bag. Inspect that. Whoops, don't understand keys. Okay, so let's go and look at bag. So obviously I'm missing something. So let's go to bag. Okay, so what we want are values and counts. So cumulative counts is going to be the total number of all. So here if we take this as a bag and we cumulative counts would be that's not what we're interested in. Okay. Okay, as bag as set. So let's go back and try. Let's go back and try B as set. So as set will give us just the number of unique values. And so then we want to know how many of the values in it are equal to, so let's just go back to the bag description, and so there's a method keys and values do, which will iterate over a block, passing it the key and the value. So the key will be the number. So if we just ask for this as values, yeah, so it'll call the block with each of the keys and the number of values in that block. So if we just make this a bag instead of a set, that half solves our problem. And then make this a bag. Then adding the character works fine. The only thing we have left is to get this right. So getting the counts right. Well, let's just make a new method. Let's just ask this to do its own. So this would be unique keys. I'm gonna, that doesn't work. Unique keys. And then we'll ask the size of the unique keys. Or, no, not unique keys. All answered. Yeah, okay. So what I want this to do is give me the keys, all the key values that that have the same count as the number of values in the bag, or the number of keys in the bag. Okay, so let's just save that and then go back to our test, run our test again. But this is, I made a mistake. So I didn't actually want to change day 6. Because okay, I'm going to move this code into a new method. So I'm going to call it day 6. Day 6 counting. I'm going to pass it the string, an initializer, I'm going to call this the initialization block, or I block, and the counter.
It's a new Apple product, isn't
it? C block. Okay. And here I'm going to, so given the string, I'm going to do the same thing as before, except that here I'm going to call the init block. Oops, I block value. So I'm going to ask it to give me the value that I want. Then I'm going to call C block on C block. Oops, didn't mean to do that. Okay, what's going on here? C block. Value. Okay. So I'm going to pass the current group answers to the counting block, and then this will be I block again. Okay, so every time I need to create a new answer thing I'm going to call iBlock on it to give me an initialized block, passing it a value. So I do that here and here. And when I have a block I want to see the count, I'm going to call this counter block on it here. So let's just copy the name of this. We'll save this. And now we'll go back to day 6. So day 6 is going to basically return. Oops, I noticed I need to fix something else. So this is just going to return self passing the string. The iBlock in this case is going to say set new, and the counter block is going to take a set and return the set. Okay. Now, what did all that do? Well, what it basically did was it made this parameterized. So let's go back and see if our test runs. It does. Okay, so let's go back and explain a little bit what's happening. So here, rather than just return this, I'm going to call this helper method, day 6 counting, pass it in a block that's going to create a new set, and pass it in a block that just returns the thing, because counting init counter here is not quite right. I need to copy this here. So basically it's going to use this every time it has to initialize the block, and it's going to use this every time it has to get the answers. And so the blocks that I gave work. Let's again run it again just to make sure. Okay, so now let's go to day 6b. Day 6b is going to be very similar, except it's going to call day 6b. And down here it will also call day 6b. And it is going to return some value that we do not yet know. And this was supposed to return 6 instead of 11. Okay, so save that, and now we'll run day 6b. And of course it fails, so we'll create the method. Okay, and this is going to be very similar to day 6a, so let's just go back and get day 6a. So it's going to look a lot like this, except that we're going to parameterize it differently.
It's having a moment.
It's having a moment. Okay, let's just... There we go. So
It was shy.
It was shy. So we'll paste that in, and instead of a set here, we're going to use a bag. And here, this isn't a set, this is a bag. And what we want to do is something a bit more complicated here, because what we need to do is we need to loop through all of the keys and values. So we'll say bag keys and values do, and so we're going to have a key and a count or a value. And what we want to do is return all the keys that are so I want to return the number of keys in the number of keys that have a value that's the same as the count, the size of the bag. So let's say number of keys and count. So I want to set number of keys to be equal to the size of this bag if it were a set. So I'm going to say bag as set size. And I'm going to set the count to 0 because right now I don't have any. So let's go here and so if the value is equal to the number of keys, if that's true, then this is what I want to count because everybody answered it. And so I'm going to say count plus 1. Okay, so I'm going to go through all the keys. So find out how many keys there are, which is what bag as set will do. And then I'm going to go through and iterate through all the keys and values. And if the value is the same size as that, then it means that this one was no, it doesn't. No, it doesn't. Because what we want is the number of people in this group. So it's not the number of keys that we want, it's the number of people, number in group. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to add another parameter to this, which is the number in group. Okay, and then I want to check to see if number of keys is equal to, or the value is equal to the number in group. Number in group. And if it is, then I'm going to add 1 to the count. Okay, so that is clear enough, I hope. But let's go back and update the other method. So let's just close this. Let's bring this back up here and go to day 6A because it's not going to work right now. So we just changed this. We're going to change this because we need it to be different in this one. So we'll change this and we'll add an extra parameter here to this block, which keeps track of how many so the value is the current group answers and value group size. So we need another thing here, which is group size. And we'll set group size also to 0. Group size. Okay. Now, if the line is empty, we want to set group size to 0 because we finished a group. And if it's not empty, we want to add 1 to group size. Okay. So when we call cBlock, we'll pass in the group size as well. So we have to do that down here as well. So value group size. Okay. So now that should work with this, but now we need to go back to this one because we have 2 parameters here. And let's just call this ignore because we're going to ignore it. Okay, now let's go back and make sure our test still works. So does day 6 test still work? Yes, it does. Okay, so let's try day 6b. And we got 15 instead of 6. Okay, so we didn't do it right. So this should have been checking, the group count should have been 1, and we should have been, we should have seen. So let's restart this and step into this. And we'll step over that. Okay, so we're going to go into the day 6 counting method. And so let's step over a few things. Okay, so we're going to step through now to go to our code. Okay, so now let's look at the inspector so we can see what values we have here. So what do we have? We have line is ABC. Okay, so is it empty? No, it's not. So we're going to step through. Oh, sorry. No, the line's not empty, so we're going to step through this. And we come to here. So now group size is going to be group size plus 1. Okay, that sounds right. And so group size is, don't see it here, but that's okay.
It's there.
Oh, there it is, group size 1, yes. And then we're going to loop through the line, and for each character we're going to add a character to the group answers. I'm just going to step over this, and so current group answers is a bag with 3 items in it. Okay, so we'll step through again. Okay, so we're on an empty line now, so let's go through and see what happens. What? Oh, sorry. Get confused there for a moment. Okay, so the line was empty. And so now we're going to go into this current block, passing in the current group answers and the group size. Okay. Ah, I see what the problem is. Yes, I see what the problem is. Okay, so let's step into this anyway. Okay, so if we just go back to the previous line, we'll see. So what we were expecting was that this was going to return the size of this. So I think I don't want it to return the size. I think I want it to return the actual number. So that means I'm going to have to go back and fix several things. So I'm going to change this to, instead of looking for the size, just to take the value. So we'll take that away and take it away here as well. And okay, still is yet unclassified. So I'm going to give this a category, classify methods as a, let's call it a helper function. Helpers. Okay, so that's all fine. Let's go to the put convert in here and put this day code. Okay, and I'm just going to put these in here. Okay, so let's go back to the, so this now expects this first, the C block to return the actual count. And day 6a doesn't return the count right now, it just returns the set, so we'll add set size here. So now that returns the size. So now let's go back and see if test day 6a works still. Yes, it does. And now test day 6b. Instance of character did not understand adapt to number and okay. So this is a little bit tricky. So let's go back to here. Let's go back to here. Sorry, this is going to take a moment. So, count is 0. And what is the result of all this? Obviously not what I thought it was going to be. So inspect this. It's a bag. That's not what I wanted. Okay, so let's, why is it?
This is where the real programming kicks in. The first ones we thought, like, we actually knew what was happening with the code. Here we're really getting into the black box stuff.
Okay, so I'm going to go into this code to actually debug what's going on. Okay, so right. So we did the right thing in here, but we didn't actually return the result. So what we need to return here is the count. Okay. That's fine. Compile and browse. That's fine. Go away. Go away. Go away. And now let's rerun this test. And it worked, except that it now says this is the correct answer. So let's copy this, put it over here, save that, proceed, and now let's go and put it in Firefox and see if we got the right answer. And we did.
Woo!
Excellent. So I was going to show a different way of doing this, but I think we've got enough code here for today. Instead of using a set, we could have used an integer and set bits in it, which is another way of implementing sets. But once we need the bag version as well, that probably wasn't the best way of doing it. So we'll just leave it there. I'm just going to go and close that and go to my repository and commit. And here we've got day 5 convert. Oh, I changed the category of these, that's why those are changed. I added day 6 counting, the 2 direct functions, the loader for the day, and the 2 tests for the day. So finished day 6, 2 stars. push it through, and commit.
Oof.
And go back over here and reload. And sure enough, 13 seconds ago. So we're all done. Thank you very much for joining us again, and hopefully we'll see you again tomorrow.
Yeah, hopefully. Bye.